Hello everyone, myself Arnav. This will be a short introduction about getting started with Enterox Cloud. It provides enterprise solutions that can interconnect with embedded computing devices. For example, you can have a solution for tracking sales that gets updates from vending machines and POS systems. Some of you already know it by its code name Erasmus. That's the name we used for it last year. However, since the last year, a lot has changed on the platform, including support for new protocols for integration with IoT devices and modification to the existing SOAP and REST API for better performance in load balanced environment that can now handle larger volumes of transactions per second. So the first thing you'll need is your own instance of the cloud. So go to enterox.com, click on Enterox Enterprise Cloud, and if you have an invite code, you can register your cloud instance. You'll notice that it now requires an invite code. This is in order to limit the number of instances that we can support with our current infrastructure. Provide your details. Now the domain name will become the unique name of your instance. It should be alphanumeric and without spaces. Enter the invite code, the captcha text, and click on submit. It will take a couple of seconds to provision your server storage space and the database. Now, the security extension is the extension that allows you to create profiles and permissions to limit access to the information stored in your instance of the domain. And the UI extension is the component that allows you to configure the sites, views, forms, and the different UI elements that are represented to the users. Finally, click next. And finally, it will ask you to create a user account. This user account will become the main admin of your domain or your instance of the cloud. And we have a domain registered. Let's sign in. Now, as we know, Enterox provides enterprise solutions that connect with embedded computing devices. So we can go to solutions and start importing solutions from the solution store. But before we do that, let's understand how these solutions are built. That will help you customize these solutions or create your own enterprise solution. So everything in Enterox begins from entities. An entity represents a class or a type of thing. For example, you can have a contact entity and store records of all your contact in that contact entity. So let's create this contact entity. Click on new. We'll give it the name as contact, display name as also contact. Now the difference between the two is system name is the name we'll use in our program and scripts. The display name is like a user-friendly name. Another good practice is actually to prefix your system name with your project or your solution name. We'll give it a plural display name. Next, we want to create attributes in this contact entity. We go to the property window, select entity attributes, and let's add our first attribute. We'll call it as the first name. Now there are different types of attributes. The one that we need now is a single line attribute. We'll mark it as required and searchable, and we want to make this attribute as the primary display attribute. So we'll check is lookup display as true. And we have created our first attribute. Let's recache and refresh this page. You'll see a new tab called without solution, and you can see your contact entity in place. Let's create our first record. So that's how simple it is to create entities and attributes, but certain attributes require a little more understanding. For example, if you want an attribute like a drop-down with a set of options for user to choose from, then we'll need to create an option set attribute. For this case, we'll create a contact type attribute, option set. We can have different types of contacts, so we'll call it as a contact type. And then under this option set, we'll create different options. Let's say friend, save and new, colleague, save and new, and a family relation. Save and close. Next we go back to entities, select our contact entity, and we'll create a new attribute. We'll call this attribute as contact type, display name as contact type, and in the attribute type we'll select as option set. Next we'll relate this attribute with the option set that we have just created. Now we go back to contacts and we can see the new attribute added. Let's create a record. Sometimes you'll need to reload the frame to see the new attribute, to see your changes, recent changes. And we can select the type of contact. So you have seen how to create entities and attributes. Now one thing you must know what's happening in the background is there is an API made available, accessible over multiple protocols, SOAP, REST, WebSocket, Web API, that allow you to perform these create, edit, delete actions through different clients applications. Can be Android application, can be Java or .NET or IoT devices. Next, let's see how to set up relations. For this case, we'll create a company entity and we'll set up a relation between company and contact. So let's create this company entity. Go to entity, click on new, call it as demo_company, display name as company, we will display name as companies, and we'll add an attribute to it. We'll call it as company name. This will be a single line attribute. Mark it as required, and we'll make it as the primary display field. Let's refresh, and we can see our company entity in place. Let's create some company records. AdventureWorks, Revenue, Contosource, Revenue, and Northman, save and close. Now, before we proceed to setting up relation between company and contacts, let's try and understand the type of relation between the two entities. A company can have multiple contacts working for it, while a contact will be working for a specific company at a given point of time. That will be true for most popular cases. So that makes it a one-to-many relation from company to contact. And here is a thumb rule. In case of a one-to-many relation, the entity on the many side, that's the contact entity, should have some attribute that will reference record of the entity on the one side, the company entity. Such an attribute is called a foreign key in database terms. In Enterox Cloud, we call it as a lookup attribute. So let's create this lookup attribute in the contact entity. We go to entities, select our contact entity, and then we'll add an attribute to it. We'll give it a system name as company ID, as it internally stores the record ID of the related record, and we'll give the display name as company. This time the attribute type will be a lookup type attribute. And we have our attribute created. Next, we go to relation and we set up the relation between company and contact. Create a new relation. We'll call it as company contacts, display name as company dash contacts, and the relationship type will be one-to-many. Now you probably have already heard about the different types of relation, like one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many. There is a fourth type of relation called one-to-many connection. That's a special type of relation when you want to associate the same lookup attribute with different types of entities. But for this case, we need a simple one-to-many relation. The from entity will select as the company. The to entity will be our contact entity. And the to attribute will be the attribute that we have created in the contact entity, the company attribute. There is another feature with relation. You can specify what should happen in case the parent record is deleted. So in this case, if a company record is deleted, what should happen to the related contact records? Delete association, in this case, the The contact records will continue to exist, but the company field of those records will be set back to empty. Delete children. In this case, if a company record is deleted, all the related contact record will also get deleted. Delete prevent. This will prevent the company record from getting deleted if it has any contact record related to it. For this case, we'll keep it as delete association. Now if we go back to our contact entity, we can see this new attribute, the company attribute, in place. And if we try to create a new record, let's say Justin, contact type as friend, and you can see the IntelliSense starts working, AdventureWorks or Contoso or Northwind. We can also select the record from the drop-down search box, and that's how you can set up relations between two different entities. Now let's say Justin is working for AdventureWorks, let's say Drew is also working for AdventureWorks, and Darren working for Northwind. Now this is one way to see that a specific contact is working for a specific company. We can see this from this view, but say we want to see which all contacts are working for a specific company. There's another way. We can go to companies, select a specific company, and then from the property window we can select the relation that we have created, company contacts, and it shows the contacts that are related with this company. So Drew and Justin are working for AdventureWorks, nobody is working for Contoso, and Darren is working for Northwind. And you can also create records from here. Say in Contoso, we'll create a new record and we'll create John, a colleague working for Contoso. You can see that the field is pre-populated based on the context. So that's how you set up relations in Enterox Cloud Platform between different entities. Next, let's understand what are actions. Actions are like operations: create, update, delete, record operations. There are a number of inbuilt operations. There can be different types of operations: on-demand operation, those are explicitly triggered by the user, or on-event operation that are triggered as a consequence of the action on a specific entity. You can create your own custom actions as well. That can be .NET or Java components, or it can be a simple HTTP post request to another web server. More about actions are detailed in the Enterox programming guide. Finally, if you want to package all our settings and be able to export our customizations from one domain of Enterox into another, we can do that. Go to Solutions, create a solution. We'll call it as Demo. The process is simple. Just create the solution record and update all your settings to be related with that solution record. You can use Control or Shift key to select multiple records and perform a bulk update. Next, we'll select the company name attribute of the company record related to the demo solution. Select the contact record, select all its attribute and update them all to be related to the demo solution. Go to relation, the relation that we created, company contacts, update it to be related to the demo solution. The option set, contact type, and the options under the option set, all those options to be related to the demo solution. Now if we go back to the solutions tab, select our solution, and we can review the components within that solution, the solution entities, the different attributes in that solution, the relation, the option set, etc. And if you want to export these settings, the process is simple. Click on the More button, click on Export Solution, click on the Export Solution button, and you get a zip file. The process of importing solution is similar. Click on the More button, Import Solution, select your zip file and import. You can also import solutions from the solution store. These are the inbuilt solution, the business solution, the catalog solution, the sales, marketing, purchase. A number of solutions are there. We'll review about these solutions in subsequent video. Thank you.